Bueno, vamos a ver.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Total War Warhammer 40,000 Alpha Strike Gamescom Edition. Oh, did I put you in the right seats? I did. Fantastic. We're here today to talk about Total War Warhammer 40,000. So there's been a bit of a wave of footage this morning from press. Oh, I'm quiet because I've not got the mic right in front of my mouth. We've had a bit of a wave of footage from the press and from content creators this morning.
Bueno, esta mañana hace 5 horas y media una pila de creadores de contenido pues han sacado sus vídeos, ¿no? De Warhammer 40.000, del Total War. Tampoco han mostrado gran cosa, la verdad. O sea, han mostrado un pelín la campaña, que básicamente las provincias me parecían, en mi opinión, muy estilo al Shogun 2, que está interesante eso, pero bueno, las batallas por desgracia eran exactamente igual, pero en vez de con Guardia Imperial era con marines espaciales, ¿no? Y los orcos tenían básicamente el mismo ejército, o casi el mismo ejército. Así que bueno.
Yep.
If you can put it that way in terms of design. So kind of had
a practical combat specialism.
No.
Send you out to fight for us.
No, not a good fighter in real life.
Unless you're in green war paint, ready to charge in. And we have Will.
I'm waving at the camera. There's the camera. Hello.
Will, no se te escucha apenas nada.
I am a campaign designer on Total Warhammer 40,000. I have been a campaign designer at this company for a while now. I did a lot of stuff on Warhammer DLC. You may remember me from some ancient Total War arena streams. Like
yes,
it's
a reunion.
Past. Yeah, and yeah, so I'll be here to talk a bit about what we want to do with campaign.
Fantastic. I can see everyone saying low audio. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick us onto the Be Right Back stream for just 1 second while I whack those numbers up.
Low audio, ay. Bueno, pues nada, creo que le dijeron también que era del Community Manager o del Community Team, y el otro, el que no era Will, creo que estaba antes en el equipo de Warhammer, del Fantasy, y ahora está en el 40.000. Yo creo que esas cosas podían probarlo antes. Vale, que si uno está solo, como yo, es difícil probarlo, coño. Esta puta de la música, pero tampoco es plan de quedarme sordo. Que si está uno solo, pues sí es más complicado probarlo y todas esas cosas, pero pues esta gente...
Oh, we've got like a 5 to 6 second delay anyway. So, oh, people saying stream's over. It's, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. They're saying no Will.
They might be trolling us, so I don't
No,
know.
no estamos troleando.
Bedson, throw... Is Will registering when he speaks? Will, you need to speak.
Testing.
No.
Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to throw over to the game screen.
Y esto es lo que han mostrado por aquí, esta gente. O sea, esta gente, perdón. Todos los youtubers que le han dado acceso, ¿no? Que tenemos que aprender lo básico, un pelín de la campaña, que solo era un planeta nada más, que tampoco era para tanto, y la batalla, que es la batalla que es de la guardia contra los orcos, el mismo mapa. Pero creo que estaba invertido también los... donde salían. Ahora los orcos salían donde estaba la guardia imperial, y donde estaba antes los orcos pues salían los marines. Pero que yo, estas cosas yo creo que podrían probarlo antes, me cago en la hostia. Indie Team, ¿no, gente? Es un equipo indie lo que hay. It is what it is.
Alright, so you guys should be able to see the main screen now. So, Will, if you can give one more introduction and we'll see if that works.
¿Está hablando ahora?
Just yell. Yeah, you can come and join me. Okay. Me and Will are going to join a mic. You're gonna, Will.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Get to introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Will. I am a campaign designer on Total War Warhammer 40,000. And I've been doing that for a long time on various projects, DLC, arena, all kinds of things. And yeah, I'm here to talk about some of what we are doing with the campaign in this game.
¿Y no tienen como ellos unos micros portátiles estos, tío, en vez de esos micrófonos gigantes?
We're all in the wrong order. So now we are the two-headed Josh. And joining us with her is Oscar Will.
Hello.
We also do have on the PC, we have James Bedson, who you will hear us shout at as Bedson or James or whatever we take. But he's going to be playing for us. Bedson, I won't ask you to introduce yourself because you have no microphone. But Bedson he'll be playing at, we're aiming him for like a mid-skill level. We've told him not to be too good.
Se me olvidó apuntar cositas.
We're trying to represent the average
Que ya se me está yendo la olla.
Because otherwise, he could absolutely just steamroll. And we all know he would.
Apparently your mic isn't working now.
How can my mic not be working? Mic is on, it's just very directional. Alright, well, we're just going to have to get very into
we can do a bit of wiggle.
Okay, well, you're not going to hear much of me anyway. I'm just going to kind of introduce you guys and then move on. Alright, so what we have here is the build that we took to Gamescom. So if you are at Gamescom and you're on the show floor, you'll be able to play this now. Before we jump into it, you'll see that there's 3 sections. There's learning the basics, which is the illumination campaign, I think that's what the cinematic is. We will be skipping the cinematics just because we've got a lot to talk about. There is the taste of campaign, which is, as it says, it is a taste of the campaign, right? It's a thin slice, but we'll be talking a bit about the stuff that is there.
Sí, básicamente una campaña para ver un poco la campaña, básicamente. No es una campaña grande.
That we'll be able to play. So, before we get in, there are a couple of questions that we saw from the last stream that we just wanted to tackle first. One of them was, I didn't realise it at the time, but I was dropping quite the bombshell when I asked Dave about ammo. A very quick fire, it was, is there infinite ammo? Yes, and we didn't really get the chance to expand on that. So, Oscar, I wanted to give you the chance
to la munición infinita, vamos a ver qué tengo que decir.
Yeah, so, I mean, we had when we were starting the project, we had a lot of thought about, like, should we do ammo or not? It's an integral part to a total war game. But I think there's various factors as to like why we decided not to do ammo in the end. Partially, it's not just that core to the actual fantasy. Warhammer 40k is all about the action and kind of just like we wanted to kind of keep it to more towards what's fun and exciting. The other part there is like we're no longer in medieval ages. You don't just have a bow and an arrow.
Yeah.
You have a squad with different weapons. And technically, we could track the weapon of each squad member and each weapon, but that gets very messy very quickly for gameplay in terms of like, well, when should an unit attack? When should a unit not attack?
Yeah.
Or like when do you actually run
Claro,
out of
estás diciendo como las unidades tienen tantas armas ahora,
simpler, neater,
pues es más difícil decir cuándo se va a quedar sin munición esa arma, ¿no? Por ejemplo. Más complicado. Hombre, ahí lo puedo entender. De por qué han puesto munición finita. No se han querido comer la cabeza y que el juego sea más espagueteado de código y has dicho, mira, vamos a munición finita y así no nos complicamos tanto la vida, ¿no?
That will always be there. Generally speaking, we've kind of put an internal cap of like you're probably not going to have more than 8 army abilities in any given battle. And obviously these range in power levels a lot. So airstrikes are, generally speaking, going to be on a lower power level. We're still tweaking with the balance of them. At this stage, we're definitely erring towards the impactful. But we're keeping an eye on
de la habilidad de bombardeo.
And obviously then you have these like really powerful fleet.
De cuando quieren balancearlo y todo eso.
Death strike missiles, the land strikes that need to have a lot of impact, but we need to have ways of basically controlling them from a campaign point of view. It's like when do you actually get them? I think Will can probably explain more about that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that is this doesn't work. It's fine. We're getting cozy. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to avoid the situation that I think we maybe stumbled into on Warhammer 3 sometimes, where a character would just get a massively powerful army ability kind of just for free for being them. Like if you have a big powerful fleet bombardment, that's happening because your fleet is in orbit, right? And you put that fleet there, and you have upgraded that fleet, and the enemy is not doing things that are stopping you from using that fleet, right? So you should have, where there are these very powerful, game-changing abilities, you should have levers on the campaign map that help you kind of counteract them and stuff. So we want to make sure that there's control coming from the campaign layer as well as in battle.
Fantastic. Apologies for any of the microphone issues. We will, once Bedson's into a battle, perhaps we will quickly pop and I can have a look at those while he's doing it. Speaking of, I said we'd skip the cinematics, but actually, I think if we start off with the illumination cinematic, I can put us full screen, and then I actually can scurry and see if I can fix these mics.
Ya está confirmado, sí, se ha visto. Iluminación parte 1, carga perdida. La galaxia arde. No hay paz entre las estrellas. Te parece como un millón de... Bueno, no cosa a veces es como... Bueno, ya me perdí ya. Hombre, más sonido, menos mal.
The Emperor's left hand descends for his angels. Courageous, dutiful, but ignorant of the trials to come. A journey is required. These warriors must seek the light before they can safeguard it. For if they fail, the candle they hope to shield, and many others, will be extinguished.
Básicamente que la vela estaban a punto de apagarse, ¿no? Pero es que no es como apagar, sino que está fluctuando, ¿no? Creo que sería la palabra.
Cogitation protocols initializing.
Tío, esto me recuerda al Dartai.
Fleet modules online. Synchronizing crew data of the Emperor's torch.
What is our status, Fernand?
Captain Halsor has made planetfall and awaits our arrival on Umbral Prize.
Very well. Commence mission protocols.
¿Quién será el Septim? Se imagino que será alguien nuevo, ¿no?
Decrypting mission objectives. Ident seals verified. An inquisitorial petition for aid. Operation Illumination. An inquisitorial vessel named the Sagacity has been lost, presumed crashed. It was transporting cargo of extreme importance to the Imperium.
What cargo?
Ah,
Data
secret.
has been redacted.
Por supuesto, la
It must
Inquisición.
be recovered at all costs. Arrival imminent, Lord.
Prepare for real space re-entry.
A ver, Septim, a ver si... No, eso se lo ha inventado entonces ese tío.
Real space translation complete. Ship systems operating within acceptable efficiency parameters. Thank the machine god. Entering orbit of Umbral Prime. Establishing box link with our strike detachment.
Captain Halsor, have you located the crash site? Coordinates have been confirmed. It lies to the east. Then we are close.
Descubrir la carga perdida, ¿no? Bueno, recover no es descubrir, en verdad. Devolver la carga perdida. O recapturar la carga perdida. Que por cierto tenemos aquí la influencia. Y la requisición, ¿no? Que no se ve muy bien por desgracia con el vídeo de YouTube. O la requisa. Como queráis decirlo. Y ahora un huevo de requisa. No sé si eso es por... ¿Eso va así o va a haber menos? Ahí vemos el planeta, que no es todo el planeta por desgracia. Acá bueno, esto también es tutorial. Pero bueno, también por lo que se ha visto en los demás YouTube, por lo que he visto yo mejor dicho, no era todo el planeta tampoco. Era más amplio, pero no era todo el planeta. Lo que me estoy dando cuenta ahora mismo, no hay niebla de guerra en el minimapa, ¿no? O en el planeta. Lo cual es curioso. Bueno, también puede ser porque como tienes la nave arriba, imagino que no sé que no va a haber niebla de guerra ya. Me apunta de todos modos.
High levels of Xenos activity detected. Expect resistance.
We are primed to engage. Brothers, intone your battle hymns. It is time for war. Recover the cargo at all costs.
Hello, we have called in an audio expert from outside who will be coming in to fix some of our issues, but otherwise, until now, we have Will here to talk about some of this campaign section.
Yeah, we can use the one working mic and do a bit of hot seat for the moment.
Exactly. Oscar, could you pass me my papers, please?
Cool. So what our colleague James has been gamely stalling by showing you a bit of the tutorial as we've dealt with our technical issues. But what you're seeing here is the first planet of our tutorial campaign called Illumination. This is a sort of semi-narrativized campaign, a little bit like the tutorial campaign of Warhammer 3, where we do a bit of kind of scripted storytelling and kind of get you onto the basics of the game.
Yeah. So the first thing that they're seeing here really for the first time is planets, right? And let me give them a nice full view of that. So how does a planet work compared to what they're used to in traditional Total War?
So planets are kind of almost like the basic kind of fundamental gameplay unit of the game, right? Like most of what you're doing is fighting on planets. And a planet alone is quite like a detailed gameplay experience, right? Like this isn't the kind of thing where you fight one battle and you capture a whole planet, right? A planet has many regions, many settlements, many battles to fight. We're imagining that something like this. So this is a small planet, and even within that scope, this is like a relatively restricted one. Like most of them have way more regions than this. That would be probably equivalent to, say, like a continent in kind of Warhammer 3 terms.
Bueno, que este es un planeta pequeño y que básicamente tienen completamente varias provincias y varias ciudades y todo ese rollo. Que no van a conquistar un planeta de una sola talla.
We'll show that later, but yes, a single planet is made of multiple, a single star system model is made of different planets. You can traverse between those planets by flying through space. You can fight on multiple planets at the same time, and that set of planets within that solar system is what represents probably the closest equivalent to what we would have as a traditional campaign in another Total War game.
And so what they can see is there are quite a few grayed out buttons there. So this build is...
Por lo mismo, si estás solar puede combatir varios planetas distintos, básicamente, y puede viajar entre ellos también.
I mean, the tutorial in particular, which we're looking at now, is even more restricted, so there should be a few more buttons that you can press in the final thing. Like a lot of the content's not there, so you won't see much in terms of building trees. A lot of the interactions around fleets won't be accessible. So we'll have a little taste of what you can do with the fleet later on, but you won't have the full range of upgrades and selections and things that you can do there. There's a tech tree, which you can't see here, but again, we can talk about that a bit later when we talk about the theatre.
Está hablando de los iconos que no se puede ahora mismo seleccionar.
Benson, feel free
Como por ejemplo la tecnología, la diplomacia, etcétera, etcétera, ¿no?
Moving around the planet.
Cool.
Firstly, I guess. Oh, you are going to have to fight this one. Before you fight this one, moving around the planet is a bit different.
Yes. So one of the big things about this Total War, we basically have had to build everything from the ground up, from scratch. Right. This is an entirely new campaign model, and while that had challenges, right? I think one of the first things I was doing was rewriting how you select things in the game, right? That's something we kind of had a basic. It's given us an opportunity to also look back at various stages of Total War and be like, well, what are the best elements of all of them? So in more recent Total Wars, you've had this quite granular free movement, which is, feels like, there's a lot of flexibility there. But it has lost something that we had in the older games, where you have this like more kind of board game-like, risk-like, district-based movement. And what we tried to do with this game is get a kind of best of both worlds, right? So while there's a kind of granularity within the map that's much higher than you would have found in Shogun 1 or Med 1, your detachments, which is what we call armies in this version, they still move between these kind of larger segments of space and control those areas of space, which means you no longer have to worry about, oh no, I can move 95% of the way to the settlement, but I can't quite make it. So it gets rid of a lot of that fiddliness, and also makes it a lot easier to handle things like choke points and kind of do much kind of broad stroke strategic gameplay.
Helpful for the AI as well.
Por lo que tengo entendido es que ahora mismo el terreno aquí funciona mucho más diferente que los juegos normales, ¿no? Total War.
But also makes it easier for you to
básicamente tiene que complicar más la vida en el tema de movimiento.
Which makes it a lot easier for you as a player
to
plan out your strategy in advance.
And so maybe fewer of those. I'm constantly just chasing them every turn.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Feel free to go into the battle, Benson. And I believe we'll be trying to hot swap.
Yes. Cool. We'll do a little bit of a swap.
I mean, allegedly that might work. So you may wanna give it a little hello and see. Got our mic man. Will, do you want to say hello into the mic just to see if there's any chance?
Hello.
Any chance you guys can hear Will while we're loading in? I'll go game screen so you don't all see Will's face. No. Okay. Then we've got 2 working mics, and that's fine. We'll keep hot swapping.
Ah, mira, ese...
In the meantime,
de más que vimos antes. Ah, vale.
Oscar.
Me mola esta intro que ponen ahora antes de la batalla. Al menos ha visto también eso en los otros creadores de contenido también. Que tienen como una intro antes de la batalla los marines. Por lo menos
They're gonna
marines,
reflect
claro.
your customization choices. They're gonna reflect your faction colors. And basically, we just want to show off, you know, the cool units you have and kind of really help set the scene for the battle. And just like elevate the storytelling that our battle does.
And I think the idea of it being dynamic is probably one of the coolest things that
Ah, pero esto me pasa visto antes. Vale, vale, vale.
We'll get into faction customization.
Esto me pasa visto antes.
That it is your people going into battle.
No jugando, pero sí unas
So
cuantas
we've
nuevos
seen
vídeos.
Astral play in battle last time, and that was Will playing that, a different Will.
Porque recuerdo la nave estrellada, estaba
how
muy
do
chulo.
Space Marines, and Benson, feel free to just play through as we go. How do Space Marines differ to Astral as you're playing through?
I mean, it is a very different play experience. Space Marines obviously come in few numbers. You're going to have less units around. The units that you have are going to be quite durable, because obviously Space Marines have a lot of armor. They've got a lot of health per entity. They also regenerate in and out of combat. So you kind of, as long as kind of like the threats that are coming your way are managed and you don't get overwhelmed as a Space Marine player, you can keep taking
Los
on the
marines sí
odds.
regeneran en combate, dicen.
Like
Interesante.
a Space Marine at choke point might be able to take unit after unit.
Yeah.
So playing as the Space Marines is really about like controlling the battle, controlling your exposure, and effectively kind of trying to dictate like where the fight is going to happen, trying to, you know, spring surprises on the enemy by bringing in your drop pods.
Yep.
And just taking advantage of like what makes the Space Marines so great and powerful.
And we're the Ultramarines here, right?
Yes.
And that's what we'll be playing for the tutorial campaign.
That is not true. These are not the Ultramarines. This is a special chapter for the tutorial. I can't remember what they're called, but they are not Ultramarines.
The near Ultramarines.
Ultramarine successor chapter.
What's a word below Ultra? The partial Marines.
Oh, they're just Marines. Marine Marines.
Hey, buena Blake.
So you're playing as not the Ultramarines here. This is a new map. I'm good, thank you. All right, we're slowly fixing the broken mic, so please excuse us if you hear any interference. So this is a new map we've seen. I think this map is called Crashdown.
I think so, yeah.
And where does this? They can see it in the Mina map as well. Where would you say this ranks in terms of?
Me gusta que los orcos hablen.
I mean, this is definitely one of the more open maps we have.
So a couple of choke points that we're seeing the orcs come through now, but otherwise pretty open.
Yeah, it's basically centered around this massive crashed ship.
No, crecimiento no es una opción.
Trying to funnel through. And obviously they're getting eviscerated.
Pero por lo que he visto hay un bombardeo en el planeta. Puedes bombardear el planeta. O al menos una provincia del planeta.
Pretty much have the capacity to kill an orc in
Los
one
botes se
shot.
escuchan bien.
So things running at you through the open.
No se escuchan
they're
la
not going for a
hostia.
very good time.
Pero los botes se escucha bien.
And we can see as well. We spoke about it on the last
Mucho
stream.
juego
but
de
the,
Warhammer
that's
también.
that was nearly friendly fire. But the weapon swapping, right? So they're using different weapons at different points here. Is what it makes sense to use to kill this enemy.
Pero los botes de los marines se escuchan
Benson,
muy
if you can
bien.
actually click on one of the profiles there, expand, or just click on. There you go. So we can even see here all of the different weapons.
Ojalá
that
pudiera
they've
hacer lo
got.
mismo del Rainblade.
And these are
Del
very
cañón.
different profiles to the ones that we're seeing with the Astra Militarum.
Yeah, like one of the big things that we kind of worked on is like bringing in like the stat called evasion.
Yeah.
Which basically, you know, controls your chance to hit. So it kind of counteracts accuracy. And some targets will have, you know,
Mira, justamente hablaron antes del por qué. Wow, que esto va como el culo. Vaya la cagada. Que hablaron antes justamente de por qué pusieron munición ilimitada a todas las unidades. Y es porque, como hay tantas armas ahora en todas las escuadras, pues dijeron básicamente que iba a ser un coñazo que contar la munición de cada arma, ¿no? Por eso lo han puesto. Que por un lado lo puedo entender que lo hayan puesto, porque básicamente sería más código en el espagueti que harían aquí. Bueno, esperemos que no hagan un código espagueti como Warhammer. Y básicamente se han ahorrado el tema de no poner munición por eso mismo. Si me recuerda a mí no molar, por lo menos los rayos azules de los clones de Star Wars. Ya, pero eso no va a suceder ya. Game Workshop ha dicho que nadie de la China en ese sentido. Por desgracia.
you'll have different vision ranges, for example. So vehicles are quite blind at a distance.
Pero
So if you, with many of the bigger
te puedo
vehicles,
decir que sí puede ser por vago, pero como digo, yo creo que también tú imagínate que cada arma del juego, porque tú hay que ver ya que los marines, por ejemplo, tienen el bolter, tienen la granada, y tienen varios tipos de granadas, que tienen la granada crack y las granadas normales. Perdón, ¿era la crack cuál era? ¿De los vehículos? No me acuerdo si era la crack era de los vehículos. Y la otra era ¿cuál era? ¿La fósforo era? Creo que sí, que una era la fósforo y otra era la crack, por ejemplo. No sé. Pero sí, yo hubiera preferido que no hubieran tenido munición limitada.
You can bombard the forest to open up line of sight through it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, you can use, for example, some vehicles have smoke screen abilities.
Oh, fantastic.
That you can basically activate.
Por cierto, no estás disparando las cápsulas, ¿no?
Smoke that will actually block line of sight through it.
Yep. And we were seeing there some of the intercessors.
Ah, que no tienen vuelta la cápsula,
still
vale.
popping off shots with their pistols as well.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that the new engine has kind of unlocked for us, the ability to have that weapon switching even during combat.
Ese salto ahí también. Ha habido un momento ahí que un marine ha saltado hacia arriba, pero no ha hecho ninguna animación ni nada.
Especially melee combat.
Yep.
Feel more kind of natural and kind of do the thing that they would do.
¿Qué ha hecho esa habilidad ahí?
For example, with this like, missile in melee behavior that we created. A key part there was like no longer want to just fire fake bullets.
¿Cómo saltan los obstáculos los marines?
The pistol to be taking the shots. And you know, kind of get the right cadence of like, well, Space Marine will.
Eso poderes psíquicos, sí, exactamente.
Pop off a shot with the bolt pistol when there's a good.
Wow, vaya lagueada.
Very much like in tabletop, right?
Vaya lagueada.
And we just like want it to make sense.
Madre mía, y si se está lagueando esto, que la demo, para así decirlo entre comillas. No me quiero ni imaginar cuando sea el juego.
Yep. And I think it's done a fantastic job there. So I'm trying to see if there's any questions I can pull from chat. Apologies, there is someone playing around with the computer while we're still doing it, so there may have been some disruption there. But people talking as well about the... Oh, there we go. That's a fantastic explosion. The blood and gore. Like, it is a very blood and gory game. And that is... It's not something that's separated out, like there's been in previous Total Wars. This is all part of the base game experience, because we felt it was essential, like you just saw, to that visual experience for the game.
Yeah. And it's also just crucial for help selling the impact of weapons.
Yeah.
Hay que usar las espadas, pero no estoy usando no verás nada.
It's like ensuring that things react in the world. Like when an attack hits you, you react.
Yeah.
Like you'll see, you know, Space Marines do like small glancing movements, for example, when like say even like a last gunshot might hit them. It won't stop the Space Marine, but you might see a small like impulse on the shoulders or something similar.
Yeah. One thing as well, people may notice in the difference between this and the creator and press footage is, unfortunately at the time of capture there was a small issue with the VFX in some of their footage, so you won't be seeing that here, and that is why there is that difference. How are you doing with the battle, Bedson? He's doing well. Again, it's very hard to find volunteers to play on stream for us in front of so many people, but he's doing a fantastic job. So to take some of the questions that I can see here, there is a question about space battles, which is something that I believe we spoke about in the community inbox stream we did back in January, which is they won't be in there for launch, but we know that they're an important part of the IP. And
básicamente no va a haber batallas espaciales al principio del juego.
Another question about release date, of which I'm not just going to throw out there, but we are able to say that we're coming in 2027. Whoa! Good timing for that. So you can expect to see us then. And there'll be more information about the closed beta soon. So you'll be able to, those of you who signed up and are lucky enough to get in, will be able to experience and give some feedback yourselves there. This feels like a real last stand of those orcs. The morale system in game then.
El jefe de guerra.
We saw with the Astra Militarum that can be quite important in make or break. How does morale differ for these Space Marines?
Firstly, Space Marines don't break. They are unbreakable.
Básicamente demonizar los marines espaciales.
So, you know, if you get them get their belief low enough, you know, they'll still take the penalties that are associated with battle shocked.
Yep.
But you'll never see a Space Marine unit run, and usually that kind of means that like Space Marines can keep going when the odds are against them, and can quite often also recover from that situation, provided again the pressure isn't too much for them.
Yep.
So, as a Space Marine player, you kind of really need to keep your eye out for
Professional streamers.
when is my unit under such pressure that I need to intervene. Like I need to, you know, pop off a doctrine to help them fight, or use a
Está andando y corriendo, oñe. Uy, por vuestra vida.
Yep.
With a teleport.
We are going to ask Will just to say one sentence. And we'll find out in a few seconds if you were finally able to hear Will. Otherwise, we're just going to tell Will that he's on stream. And me and Oscar will keep going. No, they can't. It's fine.
Yo creo que van a hacer algo parecido con el Warhammer 3.
We've got our single hot mic solution.
Van a hacer abordaje de naves. No se van a complicar la vida.
You will see there's deployed, lost, and remaining.
Va a haber un mapa como por ejemplo el Chilo de los Bordos, que va a ser
kind of different wording
mapa de nave.
Of lost.
Y ahí va a hacer que se desplieguen las unidades. Y listo.
Is this like mentioned to like the injured stuff?
Yes.
I think probably Will
de todos modos también
place because it's a campaign feature.
Well,
esto más que también no solo por el tema de balance, es también por el tema de
So, yes.
como decirlo, de las patentes de Game Workshop.
Yeah, one thing
También es otra
that
cosa.
we're keen to do with Space Marines in particular is kind of represent how kind of resilient they are, right? They're super difficult to recruit in campaign. You're not going to have very many of them, so it would absolutely suck if they just all died randomly in battle. So a Space Marine, you know, entity or a unit can be, you know, wiped out in battle, but there's a small chance they'll kind of come back after in campaign. So it's a little bit kind of like, if people are familiar with accounts in Warhammer, it's kind of a way for you to get a little bit of resilience in your units and keep going.
We will just now then move on to talking about customization. So what we are now is into our taste of the campaign. Oscar, just say hello.
Hello again.
Let us know if you can hear Oscar. They are saying they can hear tapping. Oh wow, we may have fixed the microphone.
That sounds good.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Will. Feel free to depart. We're going to put ourselves back on screen. Let's go that side. Oh, we can all be heard. Only took us half an hour. All right, so we've got a name system here, similar to others that they've seen. So there are limitations in what name you can pick.
Yes. Is that a question?
That is a question.
That's a question.
Yes.
I will answer that question. Yeah, so for various reasons, we wanted to kind of make sure that the names you're picking were at least somewhat in line with the lore. So you kind of pick from sets of pre-built combinations of words. However, there's a ludicrous variety. I think there's something like 17,000 combinations for Space Marines, and you can come up with some quite silly ones, and also some very edgelordy ones if you want. It's been interesting watching the streamers this morning, how they split between absurd and edgy.
Yeah,
so,
the number of pink Marines was very high.
People either go pink or they go kind of black and red, I feel. Those are the two extremes.
Yes. Yeah. We'll see if there's anyone in chat who has any suggestions of a name based on what they can see. So short, medium, and long.
También sabe cuánto dinerico
something. I find
está pidiendo Game Workshop, que eso es otra cosa. Game Workshop tampoco es que sea un arma caritativa.
I find that what's he called himself? Space Marines. Do you know what? Honestly, I quite like it.
One of my favourite is 1,000 Marines, just because it's like just extremely descriptive of what a chapter is.
Star Children. Actually, do you know what, Benson? I really think you've done a good job here with Space Marines. Do you know what?
The Emperor was not feeling very
innovative that day. Maybe change one word, otherwise we won't be able to differentiate between the things that are like custom for our name and things that just say the word Space Marines.
No, pero lo digo por el precio, no por el tema de que claro, mucho sí interesa.
So one thing we want to point out just immediately off the rip is this is not the full customization that we're intending to have in at launch. This is a much more limited version. The reason for that is it's quite simple, and that is during our testing, this is a build for Gamescom, right? This is a build where people are going to sit down, they're going to have 30 minutes to play. During our testing, our testers would spend 40 to 45 minutes on our customization.
There's a lot of granularity you can get into here. But just for Gamescom, we're just giving you the kind of basic.
A menos que no te entiendo que funciona así.
Three color scheme.
Ahí me raya que no pueda como dividirse, ¿no?
And the other thing,
o que tenga varios juegos, pero creo que tengo entendido que funciona así, que solamente lo puede tener una compañía, su IP,
it is more than
de, por ejemplo, de nave.
the colors, right? You're able to make a character.
Yes, so you'll have your warlord character, what we call them, who's your faction leader. You'll have some more kind of 3D customization options about how they look, as well as some kind of gameplay stuff about their loadout. And we will also allow for customization of faction traits.
Se podía
So you'll have a big suite of faction traits you can pick from.
O sea, se
ponía
personaliza más colores, bueno, más colores, más cosas del marine. Cómo estamos retrocediendo, el tema de personalización de capítulos, es increíble. Que un juego de hace 20 años le saque más cosas de personalización de capítulos que uno actual.
So when you've made your faction, you've got colors, you've got traits, and you've made a character, and that is not just Space Marines.
Me flipa eso,
yes,
tela.
All factions will have this full suite of customization options.
Fantastic. How are we looking, Bedson? Bedson, you collect Dark Angels, don't you? And I think that has become very apparent in the colour scheme you've chosen.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to flag is, we're not like gating colours or icons, right? If you want to make your kind of cosplay Dark Angels with this system, we're not going to stop you, right? You're not going to have all the kind of special units.
Vale, mira, pues ya está, retiro lo dicho, parece que tiene más cosillas. Vale, vale. ¿Pero dónde está el escudo y todo eso? No lo veo. Ahora lo veo. El emblema sí es cierto que puede personalizarlo más. Vale, ahí sí. Aunque también el emblema, se puede poner la foto en... Puedes poner tú la imagen de tu propio emblema.
Customization, you'll see it on the campaign map, you'll see it in battle. One of the limitations for our Gamescom demo here is you will not see them represented in the unit cards.
Yes.
The unit cards will still look very blue.
Yes, this is a surprisingly difficult technical
Por cierto, me alegra muchísimo que hayan cambiado el tema de las tarjetas de los marines. Lo que se vio en el primer vídeo de Warhammer 40.000, odié las tarjetas de unidades de los marines.
He's become that the tester we were talking about. Move on, Bedson. Fantastic. So now I think will actually be a better example of what we were trying to talk about before with the region moving.
Yes.
So we'll shut up first. Before we do, once we're loaded in, I don't know if there's a little cutscene.
Y haces como una especie de un pequeño trasfondo, ¿no? Sería guapo. O más que trasfondo también, como debilidades y bonificaciones por elegir un primarca. Eso estaría chulo. Oh, no se escucha nada, loco.
Our mission to retake the station and purge the Xenos threat. Suffer not the alien to live.
Entering orbit. Orc fleet detected. Taking damage. Retaliating. Targeting large batteries.
Joder, que dura la nave de los orcos. Marca Manu Ferrus.
Enemy fleet destroyed.
Bueno, va entonces.
Bombardment protocols.
Ya te da por qué le acerques.
Awaiting further instruction.
Strike force is primed for deployment. Our battle brothers are ready to make planetfall. The objectives are clear and verified. Slay the Orc filth and capture the relay station. For the Emperor.
Sí, eso por ejemplo serían los... Ay, ¿cómo se llama esta gente?
Okay, fantastic.
Que en teoría son de los marines, o sea, de los ultramarines.
Welcome to
los citas, creo que eran los citas plateados. ¿Cómo se llaman?
Space Marines here.
Yes.
We were in the previous.
And yeah, I do want to stress
que
this is very much a slice of campaign. If
esa gente
James is out there, we'll see what we have to deal with on this planet.
And in the system.
Well, I was going to talk about the planet first. So again, this is like
este es el planeta que enseñaron todos los creadores de contenido esta mañana.
This is like 2 to 3 large regions split up into I think a total of about 14 to 15 districts. That's probably about.
Y mira, no sé qué es esto de aquí, pero tiene pinta que estos son edificios que puede hacer la IA o también cuando tenga todo el planeta. Y esto me recuerda muchísimo al Shogun 2, estas cosas aquí, porque veis, están como divididos en sectores la provincia.
And they also have quite different biomes.
Y me recuerda muchísimo al Shogun 2 eso.
Like a Wastes world. So it's got these kind of really gross, grungy, toxic pools and funky-looking trees and stuff. And each one of them is hand-authored, right? So the actual kind of layouts are all done by our design team, so each one of them should feel really unique. And then we have a lovely layer of kind of procedurally generated art on top, that kind of fills in all the gaps with trees and stuff. So it allows us to iterate and make cool maps really, really quickly and do fun stuff.
Madre mía.
And yeah, if you want to then zoom out to the whole map.
Are those ships reflecting the colours that he selected?
So they should be, yes.
It looks it.
Ah, es verdad, la nave
yeah, should we zoom
cambia
out to the
color.
system?
Es verdad.
Yeah, so this is an example of a kind of normal-sized campaign map. So you'll see there are not all of these planets are things you can land on. You can't land on the gas giant. That'd be a really bad idea. But you would have, say, like 3 to 4 kind of navigable planets that you would go to in a campaign map, and that would be the kind of full extent of your campaign experience within a single campaign. Should we talk about the theatre stuff now, or do that later?
We can talk about that now.
Yeah, but that is not where it ends. We love putting more layers in our game. So each of these campaigns will fit into a larger map, which we call the theatre, the Crusade Theatre. And that is effectively an interconnected series of campaigns, each of which is integrally connected to what's happening.
Por lo que estoy escuchando,
so the text that you research in this campaign,
no va a ser una galaxia,
you kind of
el modo de campaña, va a ser teatros.
That's a nice kind of a point where you might wrap up for the weekend. But then your next campaign that you fight in the Crusade Theatre, you'll have those same texts. The units that all ranked up will have the same ranks. The characters that you pick skills for, they'll have the same skills. You'll probably get like a reward for completing this campaign that will affect potentially not just the next campaign, but all the campaigns in the theatre, right? Yep. If this campaign was themed around rescuing a major armaments factory, winning that campaign might mean that all future campaigns in the theatre, you get increased or better weapons, better tanks and stuff like that.
And how many campaigns can I expect to play in a theatre?
So the theatre is around 10-ish campaigns total. You won't need to go to
they
culminate in a big final campaign at Armageddon. So that's the kind of end goal of all of this. All of the factions are fighting over Armageddon. But really, it's up to you how many of these you want to do along the way. If you're feeling, really elite, you can just kind of blast through and do it in 2 or 3. And we'll actually, the turn counter will stay consistent over the whole theatre. So I think a fun challenge that maybe some of our streamers will want to do is how many turns can they complete the theatre in.
And we'll probably see how many, as in the max and the minimum, right?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, fantastic. So really we've got a campaign within a campaign now as well.
Yeah, so the overall theatre experience is by a long way the biggest kind of combined gameplay experience we've ever done in Total War, right? Like it is, effectively multiple Mortal Empires stapled together.
Yep.
No sé si me mola eso de que haya 10 teatros.
Want to just play,
de campaña,
for a few hours on a weekend and tick some stuff off and feel you completed something, you still have the opportunity to. So it's really kind of best of both worlds.
Awesome. We have so many questions. A lot of those questions I can see will be answered as we get through them. So to start off, let's reiterate again about the changes to regions. Now it's a little bit more obvious.
Yes.
I believe, Bedson, you're able to move. Is it the optimal thing for you to move here? There's the Land Raider event, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah. So each of these kind of sort of triangular shaped things that you can just see highlighted here, that's what we call a district. So that's an area of movement. So that's effectively the space that James's Marines are controlling now. So anyone who tries to enter that who's an enemy, they will have to fight him. That's almost like his zone of control.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to capture the whole region, he'd have to go to the region capital, which is where you can see that nice big building with the icon. So that's effectively your capital settlement. So there's lots of positioning and positional gameplay you can do on the way. It's not like you just jump from capital to capital.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff you can do on the way. So we have a nice kind of mix of granularity and clarity.
Which is something we've seen players talking about they don't want it to just be hopping between settlements and making sure a planet feels big, right?
Yes,
like this
critical,
space.
Yeah.
Speaking of space, fleet interactions. So we have said there won't be naval battles, as in you're going in and you're playing a little RTS, but they're at least for launch. But there are still ways to interact with the fleet. It's a very important part of the experience.
Yeah, so that kind of interrelation between the fleet.
Sí, yo diría que los teatros serían más que nada como
a lot of our kind of gameplay
como el Warhammer 1, la campaña de iba a decir atrás por la cara.
Previous Total Wars. So your fleet is able to provide bombardment.
Este hombre, se me ha olvidado ahora.
Deployables.
Kazrak, como de la Bomba Bestia, y la campaña de los elfos silvanos, Warhammer 1. Igual a eso. Que básicamente son cachos de mapas, básicamente. Creo yo que es eso.
Then walk up to that, pick it up, and then heal that way. So there's a real kind of integral connection, especially for Space Marines, between the fleet and the land gameplay.
And the fleet's going to be about how I'm getting between the planets, I assume?
Yes, of course. So any detachment can call in a transport fleet, and they can fly off. But you will have this kind of big central fleet that acts as the kind of main kind of pivotal point around which those will need to move. Right? Like if you try and send your transport fleets to push past the enemy main fleet, they're not going to last very long.
Yep.
They're going to go crashing down from the surface of the planet. Some of them might survive, but it's not going to be a good ending for you.
¿Va a hacer evento del Land Raider o no va a hacer evento del Land Raider?
A few of the other things. Oh, do you want to talk about what Bedson's popping up?
Por cierto, esto otra cosa me mola, no hace falta tener un general, creo, para reclutar tropas. Esto ahora es como el Medieval 2, por ejemplo, el Segundo 2, por ejemplo. Ya puedes reclutar las unidades y las unidades van a salir en el asentamiento y en teoría ya puedes ya puedes ir moviéndote con ellos también. Lo cual me mola tela, lleva 100 horas. Yo reclutar un general para reclutar tropas.
A couple of questions I just saw of what you were talking about earlier. Can you have multiple fleets? Can you have armies on multiple planets?
You can have armies on multiple planets, yes. So you'll only have one main fleet.
Solo va a tener una flota o una flota principal y puedes tener varios ejércitos en varios planetas.
And then in a couple of turns, a fleet will come pick them up and you can fly off. So you can have multiple armies traveling around, but you'll only have that one big fleet at any one time.
So you would be able to wage war across every single planet at the same time
if you wanted to, yes. It's probably not the most efficient way to approach the campaign, but you can do that should you so desire. Another fun thing, so I mentioned deployables earlier. So there's a little example of one of them here. There's a little crashed Land Raider in this district. What will happen? Land Raiders, for those who aren't familiar with them, are these super powerful ancient tanks. They aren't something you can just roll up a factory line, right? If one is destroyed, it's a pretty big deal. Fortunately, they're so durable that if you happen to lose one in battle, the wreckage will still be there on the campaign map. You can go there and you can put a little action to kind of pick it up and get your army.
O sea que los Land Raiders no puedes construirlo, pero si tienes uno y lo pierdes, se queda en el mapa de campaña.
On-map interactions back into the game. That again, something we used to have in previous wars, right? In Med 2, you could build a little watchtower or something with your army and it would appear there. And we're bringing back a lot of that kind of stuff as well. So Ashminotaur in particular, as they go around, they'll be building little artillery bastions that will automatically shoot at anyone who enters their zone of influence. They can build a Death Strike missile launcher that can be used to fire missiles to the other side of the planet. Trench networks and that kind of thing. So there's all kinds of fun little bits and bobs that will now appear on the map you can interact with in a really kind of nice, visual, tangible way.
Are you looking to end turn, Bedson? Go for it. You did spark a thought, and then I saw a message in chat that grabbed my head. So someone was saying it looks like there's not as many options, and that is because there is a lot of the campaign elements have been stripped out of this for this demo.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, so a lot of systems that you would find in the full game, so like the full building trees, the full fleet upgrade trees, the full tech tree, they're not visible here, but they are there. The tech trees, for example, because
está diciendo todos los símbolos que no puede, que la demo esta no.
They are big. I know a lot of people have been looking at the new Nagash Black Pyramid tech tree that we had into Warhammer 3. That is, just wait until you see the Orc tech tree. It's full, chaotic, massive, sprawling stuff. So there's going to be lots of options. Depending on who you're playing as, you'll have those options in different places. Like Space Marines aren't really big on building so much on planets, but they do have this whole fleet upgrade system, which is unique to them. So they will have a very kind of intricate way of upgrading their fleets that wouldn't be available to Ashminotaur, but Ashminotaur might have more options of building on the ground. And that kind of thing.
So someone was asking about
Mira, y aquí no se ve las unidades que pierde, como en Warhammer 3.
Diplomacy is an interesting one, right? Because,
sí, eso no me gusta nada. Cuando tú resuelvas no se ve la unidad que pierde. No sé, es que no entiendo por qué quitan mecánicas tan buenas que dan tanta calidad al juego y no lo ponen desde el inicio, es que no lo entiendo. Bueno, a ver, esto tampoco es final, el juego este. Es como digo, una demo en Super Alpha, ¿no? Pero me jode tela eso.
Happening to fight the same person, who might be even more evil from the orcs, or anything. In those cases, you might temporarily reinforce each other, even though you're still at war with each other. So for the course of that battle, you won't be fighting each other, but once you're back on the campaign map, you'll be fighting. We've also have got a lot of kind of nice tactical options for Space Marines when they interact with Ashminotaur, for example, or planetary governors. Really nice crunchy things like, as a Space Marine, you can walk up to like a planetary militia unit, army, and say, follow me.
Yep.
And they will follow you. That's not in their turn, in your turn, they will follow you around, and when you fight a battle, they'll join you in. So you have these kind of really cool tactical options that allow you to manipulate status quo that are using diplomacy.
Yep.
Sorry, go on.
Oh no, you go.
Yeah. Another example here is the governors. You can see in the bottom left.
That's actually what I was just
I knew it. So every planet will have like a slightly quirky governor character who's kind of in charge of that planet. And like all factions, so all factions will react to things you do in the world. So everyone has an attitude towards you. But governors in particular are a little bit capricious. And they don't tend to like it when you mess around on their planet. But they've all got different personalities, right? So you might find a governor who really loves industry. Like, he loves his trains, for example. So if you go on his planet and you start bombing all of his trains and his industrial factories, he's going to get really pissed off at you. And he's not going to want to support you. And he's not going to give you access to some diplomatic actions that you would have.
Básicamente que si bombardeas cosas que a él le gusta, lógicamente pues a cabrear, ¿no?
And he actually loves it when you kill anyone, even his own citizens on his planet. So when you're blowing up his factories, he might be like, "Hey, cool, I love that." So there's always opportunities for kind of like fun, weird storytelling with the governors, where it's a kind of another version of diplomacy, but in line with how this IP works.
Yes. And is the attitude log something we can click to show?
Yeah, probably won't be anything in there. No,
there's not anything yet. But when you do things, that is going to plus or minus with the governor.
The kind of things that you've done, right? So it's a kind of it's quite a fun game of like working out what the governor likes and what they don't like.
Yep.
We also have these edicts, which are you working with more kind of continent level authorities to get things done. We've actually recently changed.
Edicto, pero también cuesta influencia, como estáis viendo, ¿no?
But they would be things like, for example, making sure that
¿puedes
all the
seleccionar
workers
todos?
are working
La
extra
hostia.
overtime.
Yep.
And if they refuse, then they go to become servitors or whatever. So you have a little bit more kind of political control, but that's going to be spending that influence resource, which kind of governs your ability to manipulate other factions in the world. If you want to be doing that kind of thing, you need to be keeping the governor happy. You need to be doing things that are diplomatic.
Someone started a question with Mr. Jake, but I think they're talking to you. They're asking just for, as a recap then, what is it like to start a campaign?
It will depend a lot on what campaign you're starting. But that's one of the great things about having these multiple different... I guess Crusade Theatre, I guess is the question. So if we think about trying Crusade Theatre, which is that campaign of campaigns, you would have a campaign which you start in. Every faction has a starting campaign. And you just go straight into that. So this is... Something like this is very much like the first thing you would see after choosing your faction or building your custom faction. You go straight into your first campaign. When you finish that, that's when you kind of zoom out to the Crusade Theatre layer, and you'll effectively see like a sort of node map of all these different star systems connected by like space lanes and stuff. And then it's up to you like which order you proceed through those on your journey towards Armageddon.
I will have a follow-up question for you on that. But before I see that, I see a lot of people asking about other features of stuff like co-op campaign, multiplayer battles. We're not going to talk about those at the moment, but we will talk about those. There's still a lot of tech being worked out in the background. We will come back and we will have those discussions. I don't want you to feel like we're ignoring you. I do see it. We just don't have anything at the moment to be able to give solid information about the infrastructure and systems there.
There's another Space Marine feature on the screen here I could talk about.
Go for it.
So if... Benson was already moving in the right direction. It's what he knew. So one of the things about the Space Marines, right, was really interesting about the IP and story about them, is that while they are like the heroes of the Imperium in some ways, everyone is also absolutely terrified of them. Am I allowed to swear on this stream?
If you say it, I can't stop you. So.
Okay, I was going to say, well, everyone's shit scared of them because of a little thing that happened 10,000 years ago called the Horus Heresy.
Yep.
So you are...
What's that?
Well, how long have we got? They are constantly juggling between this tension between, like, I am here to, kill Xenos and save the Imperium, but also...
Lo que estoy viendo, si tiene más... si sospechan más de ti que si hay más sospecha que renombre, eres influencia. Si hay más renombre que sospecha, ganas influencia.
Some Inquisitor, back on Terra, he's going to get a little pissy, a little bit nervous about me building empires and stuff. So you're constantly juggling this concept of suspicion, which is something you'll generate.
Dice, cada región que controle directamente genera sospecha, ¿no?
And renown, which is a thing
si
you get when you do
sospecha
things
mayor que el renombre, perderá influencia cada turno. Y el renombre se puede ganar ganando batallas contra enemigos del Imperio.
The best Space Marine guy in the world who's done all these victories, but as many
y manteniendo buenas relaciones con los representantes planetarios, ¿no? Si tu rango de nombre es superior al rango de sospecha, generarás influencia cada turno.
They're not the good guys, right? Like this is the nightmare regime that you're working for, and you're really having to kind of balance.
No, ahora mismo en teoría tendría que estar perdiendo
There might be cases where the morally correct thing
Te lo dice ahí que está ganando.
not murder civilians
Cual es curioso.
might be seen as deeply suspicious. So there'll be all kinds of fun scenarios that kind of come from that.
Well, it depends on if they were suspicious civilians, I guess.
Well, who says they're suspicious, right? You know.
The question I had for you was the move to a theatre system, and so campaigns contained within the theatre. What is it that's solving?
Two things really. So we have seen. I think most people play Total War will realize the best part of any Total War campaign is the first 20-30 turns, right? I think that's almost universally accepted, right? Because
requisición, vale, eso básicamente para conseguir requisición.
And we really wanted to find a way to make the game feel big and sprawling and interconnected and support like multiple.
O renegado, con que seas un renegado ya, el inquisidor un poco renegado, dice, mal rollo.
But you know, it's imagine it's like people, we see this all the time in Warhammer, right? People go and they play 100 Karl Franz campaigns. And the dream of this is, right, every Karl Franz campaign you play, like, isn't just thrown away at the end, right? It feeds into your next Karl Franz campaign. So it feels like it's all part of like a big ongoing journey.
Yeah. So I guess the equivalent is you play a Karl Franz campaign, and the first campaign is you're in the old world, right? And then you finished it, well done, you've conquered the old world. And then instead of that kind of ending there, or that being your experience, when you start the next Karl Franz campaign, you're not in the old world again, you're in the new world, or in Lustria, right?
Yeah.
So it's you're taking that army and you're an invading force somewhere else.
Yes, and you get that nice reset.
Sí, básicamente está diciendo que haces un teatro y te vas a un teatro, básicamente.
The game varied, right? Because these planets and these systems.
Es lo que ha dicho el ejemplo de Carlos Francisco. Hace, por así decirlo, el primer teatro en el Imperio y cuando lo completas, pues te vas a Lustria. Básicamente empiezan una campaña en Lustria.
But we can kind of keep it fresh, keep injecting new stuff, keep the gameplay engaging without it kind of getting run out of control. So it's a really exciting way to kind of, I think, capture. You know, I think sometimes, you know, some of us, you know, I'm getting old now. I like to be able to complete a campaign in an afternoon, right? And this allows me to do that with a smaller campaign, for example, but still not feel like that is kind of wasted or thrown away when I'm done with that.
To scoop up a couple of little things that people have grabbed from me from chat.
Questions
about resizing the UI. I believe there will be a lot of kind of those accessibility and rescaling options. Not in this demo. The point of it is it's kind of plug and play. But that's something to look into. How big is this planet relative to other planets?
So it depends what you mean by big. In terms of like actual physical size of the orb, I think this is like a medium-sized planet, so it's not the biggest one we have.
It's un planeta normal en tamaño.
Regions on it, it's very stripped back.
Yep.
Like I said, I think, you know, the average planet, a large planet would have around 3 continents on it. Each of those
un planeta grande tendría como 3 continentes.
About 5 to 7 regions.
Entre 7 y 8 regiones.
Into, you know, about 5-ish districts.
Yep.
So you're talking about
5 distritos dicho más o menos cada uno.
I can't do the maths, but like
quite
a lot bigger than what you see here in terms of actual kind of gameplay content and factions and all of that stuff.
I have just looked at the time. We are at 3:30 and we have so much to go through.
God, okay.
So a little bit of a speed run on resources. What resources am I using here as Space Marines?
So Space Marines, your core resources are requisition, and that's what you would use to recruit new units, to upkeep new units, to build buildings, to build fleet upgrades.
La requisición que se utiliza para todo,
which is a kind of your local political
para construir y mantener, para construir edificios y unidades y para mantener las unidades.
You know, get the governor to do things for you, maybe to recruit some allied units from a friend Mataran faction, that kind of stuff. So those are kind of faction level ones. But there's resources everywhere in this game, right? Like, James, if you select a region on the map, you'll see that this region has 17 billion people in it. So that's the population.
Pues sí, tiene 17.000 millones de personas, o casi 18.000 millones.
That will go up and down.
Bueno, personas.
They'll die.
Me imagino que también habrá pieles verdes, ¿no?
And that in turn will feed into the amount of resource that produces for you.
Did you just bombard that region?
I haven't actually checked with the UI updates now. You might have to click off it and try again. Okay.
No, they were in their bunkers.
Ha bombardeado la región, pero no ha cambiado población.
But it will update. That's really cool then. So we've spoken about population edicts, Space Marine mechanics, resources, governor interactions, events on the regions, unit recruitment. Units don't need a general.
Oh yeah, we thought mentioned. I guess there's another case of us kind of going back to our sort of
Sí, eso he dicho antes, ya por fin las uniones necesitan generales, menos mal.
Yeah, you can freely split your armies, you can merge your armies, and that works really nicely with this like slightly coarser movement set, because you can do things like, you know, if you have a choke point that's slightly too wide, right, you just take an army and you split in half, and they reinforce each other, you can defend both points, right? You don't have to try and like awkwardly position the zones of control just in the right place. So in a lot of ways, even though there's less places to stand, there's actually, I think, a lot more interesting tactical decisions that you're making, which I think is really important.
And it helps the AI to interact with those systems, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We have got just a few more campaign things to say, and then we'll go into the second battle. Right, campaign. We've spoken about that. Victory conditions.
Yes, they will be quite campaign specific. So depending on the campaign, you might be trying to kill a specific orc war boss. You might be trying to hunt down a renegade Imperial Guard commander.
Básicamente es matar, por ejemplo, un orco, defender un comandante, etcétera, etcétera.
And to the faction as well, right? You know, Eldari are not going to be pursuing the same goals. Eldari goals are often weird and not comprehensible to
pero los Eldar tienen un diferente objetivo.
There's a lot of variety in what you're trying to achieve in each individual campaign, and even planet to planet there'll be a lot of variety.
But as always, the goal of them is there's a kind of general objective for you to be able to do it. I believe you can continue beyond that if you want to take off the whole system.
You know, they're quite broad, the objectives,
Yes.
right? Like when it's not hand-holdy. It's totally up to you to decide how you want to achieve that goal. And we're going to support all kinds of, when you combine traits and tech trees and all of that, there's going to be many, many different ways you can approach these problems.
Fantastic. Detachment composition effects.
Oh yeah, this is a little one. I mean, this is an idea we nicked from our colleagues at Warhammer DLC from the Gorfang Rockgut DLC. You get nice little effect. Basically, depending on who's in your detachment, you will get passive effects that do different things. So one of my favourite ones is that if you're playing as one of the orc features is you run around, you collect scrap piles, and if you have you have a Gretchen unit, and Gretchen are generally a terrible unit, they're not very good in battle. But if you have a few of them in your army now has some Gretchen who they can send to pick up scrap. So as you go collect scrap, you donate more scrap.
Qué guapo.
So your choice of units in the army has kind of...
Básicamente está diciendo que, por ejemplo, los orcos, que tienen el tema de Warhammer con los scraps, si tienes Gretchen, que no sirven absolutamente para nada, y de los Gretchen en batalla, los Gretchen de todos modos sirven para pillar ese scrap, ¿no? Más fácilmente.
I will say, you didn't mean Gorfang Rockgut. That wasn't one of the DLCs. That's not Will confirming a DLC, I promise.
Oh, sorry. Who was it? What's his name?
Is it the orc?
Yeah, the orc guy.
Which one?
The most recent orc one.
From Omens.
Oh, Gorbad Ironclaw. That's his name. Yeah, sorry.
There was no... We're not making up a new orc. I'm confirming that as a DLC. Fantastic. So we've got detachment compositions, character skills.
Yes, so we will have... Characters will have skills. They have skill trees, they have traits.
También vamos a tener habilidades, pero no de batalla, sino habilidades en plan...
There's a little less focus on characters versus some previous...
como el Warhammer, ¿no? De cuando sube de nivel, tiene un nuevo rasgo. Pero bueno, no va a ser tan tocho como Warhammer dice.
A lot more kind of chunky binary choices. There's also a really cool thing that we've got in. So we brought back the concept of followers, which again is something we had in the previous game like Medieval. But these are not just like a UI icon that you put on your character. If you have a flash kit follower as an orc and you put him in your warlord's bodyguard, he's going to be there in battle, right? If you have a chaplain and you put them in your chapter master's bodyguard, he's going to be there in battle. So these followers are things you can collect, but you'll actually see them in the bodyguard of your character.
And that's been really important from the dynamic cutscenes and from you saying events on the map. It is about when you've done something, you've added someone to your squad. It's about seeing that reflected, right?
It's not just a game about menus and numbers, right? It's about real things that happen in the world space.
We have two more things, and then we will let Bedson play this battle. Unit specialization and upgrades.
Yes, so
mejora de unidades.
How you kit out your units. Space Marines in particular have a lot of different options. They have Autobot, Stalkerbot rifles, and again, not in this build, but you will be able to, on a per unit basis, customize exactly what weapons that they have.
Yep.
And those will unlock based on their experience levels. And then as they get more experience, you might even be able to upgrade into a whole new unit type, right? So you might be able to take your regular intercessor, they get really skilled, they can become a Sternguard veteran, and then they'll have even more kind of...
perfecto. O sea, que funciona como un Warhammer, básicamente, ¿no?
Control of exactly how all of the units are equipped. My favourite is the Death Dread, because you can choose how many of its arms are guns and how many of its arms are swords. So there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do.
Okay, the last question we have is, are there different planet regions?
Yes, so each of these kind of regions, that's the larger group of districts that you can see here, has a kind of a theme and a purpose to it. One thing that's really important about this IP is that it's not... A lot of the infrastructure here has been here for 10,000 years, right? No one is turning up and building a new hive city. The hive city is there. So you'll see, for example, there's a Voidcraft Disruptor network here. That has its own unique building tree that you would only find in that kind of region.
Yep.
And you can't just build that anywhere. Right, so you kind of turn up there. You have to deal with this kind of the local landscape in a kind of fun way.
Yep. Cool. We're going to let Benson go into the battle. There may be some more campaign stuff we pick up, but we have 2 working mics now, hopefully. So should be that we can all talk at once. There was a question of what factions there will be at launch.
So we have our 4 playable.
Vaya pregunta, ¿qué facción va a haber al inicio? Si esas son las 4 que están ya.
Each of those will have 2 playable sub-factions, which are like an authored lore faction. So they'll come with their own special traits, their own special characters, colour theme, etc. But for each of those, you'll also be able to build, many thousands of combinations of custom factions as well. Yeah.
Has our capture card gone down? Oh, let me put us on main camera. Oh no, it's rebooted itself. Hold on, we're back. Thank you, Will. I will say I've been having a blast customizing the factions where I can. I think a lot of people are gonna. Do you think a lot of people are going to immediately jump in, make their first Space Marine custom chapter as their first experience, or would you expect them to come in as?
I think we kind of want to support both, right? Because we have 2 kinds of players. Yeah, some people just want to get straight into action. They just want to be like, I'm boring. Sorry, I'm biased. I don't like Ultramarines, but you can say I'm boring. You can do that.
Yeah.
Or you can be like, I'm cool. I'm going to make my pink Marines called the Space Bears or
whatever.
Yeah, we really want to support both options, right? Like customization is huge. But we do know, especially from the Warhammer trilogy, that people like having these kind of big names who they can play as well. So we're really trying to support both options.
And you can see there in the, I think our capture card is just about recovered. You can see in there the custom faction in that was their colours. That was Bedson's colours that he'd chosen in that cutscene. And we got that Land Raider we rescued.
Yeah, that's the Land Raider rescue,
yeah. And a lot of other tanks. Like he's clearly trying to match Mercy the match tank numbers.
He was busy while we were talking.
There's an absolutely devastating amount of firepower.
He wants to make sure he really doesn't lose this battle. Okay, feel free to get started. So one of the burning questions is we have a Land Raider in there, but people have spotted there's no such thing as a transport capacity yet.
Yeah.
Is there a transport ability?
Not for release. It's definitely something that we're keen to.
No, capacidad de transporte para Land Raider.
So we'll see.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I've seen some of the discussions about it. We know it's something that people would see and that they're definitely want. My understanding is the discussion is to make sure the technology to do it right is there. That's why that decision's been made, rather than rushing in with a system that kind of would half work. We want to do something that actually feels good for transports.
Yeah, and there's also the secondary part, which any feature that we do, we want to ensure that the AI can also use it correctly. And like transports are such a central mechanic for how you can operate on a battlefield. What are your tactical choices? So, if we do transport, the AI is also capable of using them.
And we're planning to support this game for a long time. Right? Like we'll be constantly adding new features, and certainly, like, say if your favourite faction happens to be heavily reliant on transports, I think you can probably suspect that we would have them.
And in the meantime, like units that are transports, we're trying to ensure that they're also relevant combat units.
Yep.
Which they often are. And like the transports you've seen are generally a bit more capable as well.
And we do have things like drop pods, and I think some units can be dropped by Valkyries. Is that something we've kept? So you will see kind of transport light. So they're not going to hang around the battlefield. They're going to fly in and drop their units off and then fly away.
You're really hoping they're going to go over that bridge, aren't you? So some things people have seen there. We spoke in the last stream about the Astra Militarum's in-battle abilities. The Space Marines have their own. Bedson, if you're willing to mouse over them.
Yes, so we have three doctrines. So you have the tactical doctrine, which basically gives you a burst of speed, bit of accuracy. Main reason for this is basically if you need to move, for example, if you need to strafe away from an incoming horde, get to a key position fast. It's good for that. And you can basically activate in an area to gain that bonus where you most need it. Devastator basically maximizes your firepower, helps you punch through armor. Just kind of really kind of help your gun line punch through where it's needed. And finally you've got the assault doctrine, which is like when you need some good melee output, it's there for you. So
again, kind of mimicking the tabletop, right?
Like if you have your Terminators punching somewhere or your assault intercessors, go for assault. It's gonna help you shine.
Yeah, and again, the reason that Bedson has these unlocked is because he's built a balanced army with some shooting units, some melee units, and that's how you're going to get access.
Esa es la habilidad del psíquico o del bibliotecario.
You can see the orc milkshake in action as well. it's traveling in a slightly...
Básicamente un vórtice
They
como estoy
really
viendo,
hate
¿no?
that building.
Yeah, it really hates that building, and it hates a couple of orcs that have been chucked away. But, you know, well aimed, this vortex is incredibly powerful.
So that was an ability from the librarian, our favourite space wizard.
And one thing, so that's one thing we didn't have in the Astra Militarum battle, Bedson, if you're able to click the librarian, and that is abilities. Did you find them in the battlefield instead of the cards? Well done. That is them having their own abilities outside of just Space Marine abilities, right? There are unit abilities.
Yeah, we've tried to keep unit abilities quite minimal. Like, cause in the end, like we want to focus on the action, and we kind of want to ensure that the game it's more about tactics than just like micromanaging every ability that you have, or you know, say hit the combat buff button to give you 20% more attack for this unit, and then wait on a cooldown.
There was a question there of why were there Imperial Guard in the middle of the battlefield when we started it?
So basically, we have units, these are like units. There's constant war on these planets, and like you know, there's always going to be local forces already kind of joining in on the fight. It just really helps kind of set the mood and set the scene for this vast conflicts.
Yeah. And it helps get the scale as well, right? Like, even when your army of Space Marines might not be like tons and tons of entities, you know, any battle you're fighting, there's going to be like a few hundred Astra Militarum, and a few hundred orcs running around, or you know, whoever the other side might be. So.
And here we see one of the kind of cool abilities of like really heavy vehicles, like Bane Blades, Land Raiders, or Stompa, where there's certain buildings that they can just smash through.
Yep. And the Bedson's setting up a perfect ambush there.
Yeah, he's gonna
just kind of Kool-Aiding his way through all the buildings.
Yeah. So one of the things we didn't get to talk about last time, which was very shooting focused, was melee combat. We did have a lot of questions about it though, so I was wondering if you could give us a little bit of a breakdown of how melee combat works here, maybe in how it's different to other Total War titles, or what's been improved.
So, kind of like, again, the key part that we've kind of focused on is like, how do we sell the fantasy? How do we make melee combat kind of look like it belongs in the world? Like a key area that we've really looked into is just the fluidity of combat. So like how frequently do entities attack, for example? Like you can't do a Space Marine where every 4 seconds a Space Marine will attack.
Yep.
That just doesn't sell the fantasy. So we've kind of gone, well, Space Marine should probably try to attack as frequently as possible. And that's kind of the approach we've taken with them. So there are times where Space Marine will take a break from attacking, but that might just be a break to shoot.
To get the pistol ready.
Yeah. Or just like to find a new thing to punch. And we basically spend quite a bit of time just kind of trying to figure out like how do entities make movement decisions in combat. Like, how can they maneuver to get to do what they need to do? So for example, like Space Marines, if they start getting kind of surrounded, they'll try to kind of huddle up together towards like kind of forming this fighting circle, where basically they're kind of protecting each other's backs. Space Marines can be flanked. They generally they take less of a debuff if they get basically flanked compared to like their armor more around it. I think they just have better awareness to begin with, and they're pretty much always surrounded.
They're used to it.
Yeah, and then for example, we have other entities. We kind of have like this threat system running underneath, or in the melee combat itself, where entities will basically try to like figure out, well, is this thing threatening to me?
Yep.
So for example, like a Space Marine might not stand back from an Orc boy, but they might stand back from a Stompa.
Oh yeah.
And in the same way, like a trooper, like astronaut trooper might not be.
Well, they're not going to step back from.
Well, they're going to probably not Gretchen, but they, for example, like boys, will be more threatening towards a trooper.
Yeah.
And they'll, try to like they don't want to withdraw from combat.
Yeah.
Like it's their place. They know what they want to do, whereas a trooper might, or like a boy might step away from Space Marine and be like, okay, actually, this is still a bit scary. Like I'm aggressive, I want to punch them, but this Space Marine just keeps killing my friends.
I just got distracted by Bedson performing the most egregious act of overkill.
Really disliked that one orc. All right, fantastic. We can end that there. I will say the Well, obviously we are still working on optimization. Genuinely, that is our capture card dying in the background there. It's been going for a few years, and I think it's time for us to get a new one. Right, we're going to load back. I think we've got one more battle that we can play through, but we'll play through that battle and we'll just take some questions. So there's nothing more for us. So we'll see if there's stuff that people can bring up, and that hopefully we'll be able to answer. So if you guys have questions based on anything you've heard, so we've got campaign to talk about, we've got battle to talk about. Otherwise, even if there are things we've already answered, we can go back over if needed. But otherwise, we will have Bedson whiz through this final battle, and then we will start to wrap things up. Who are your favourite factions in Warhammer 40,000? Not in Total War.
Oh, I'm an Acme.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love my little robot Skitari. I have an army downstairs.
Oh, de Skitari.
I was very sad. We went
No, me está diciendo cuál es su facción favorita. Ya me parece a mí que ya poca cosa va a hablar, la verdad.
Yeah, for me it's Astra Militarum.
More
of the well, not quite. My army is Death Corps, so still waiting.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see in this battle that in the first battle Benson was fighting, his librarian was in Tacticus armor. This time he's in Terminator armor, so he's a lot more of a chunky lad. When I played this battle with my colleague Dave in the past, we've started calling him Dumble War.
Oh, yeah.
Or occasionally Gundalf. We can't decide which we prefer because he's a battle wizard. But yeah, we really want you to get very attached to these characters, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're going to see him go from a little Tacticus armored. I don't say nobody because he can blow you up with his brain.
Yeah.
But from a junior to someone who wears a whole solid ton of Ceramite armor.
Can they die?
They can die. Yes. So apart from your faction leader, every character can die permanently. They have a wound system, which means they'll be a little bit resilient. They have to kill them a few times. And of course, for Space Marines, it wouldn't be Space Marines if you couldn't take the mushed up, almost corpse of a Space Marine and shove it in a big metal tin can and send it back into battle as a dreadnought. So there will be a little mechanic where even if your character has died, they might continue to serve the Emperor in a slightly chonkier form.
And when that dreadnought's blown up, we'll put that in a bigger dreadnought. Be like one of those Russian nesting dolls by the end.
Yeah, so even so dreadnoughts and actually Land Raiders as well, like we're treating them almost like characters as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are super rare, super powerful, ancient creations that are really valuable. So yeah, I think while you probably can theoretically get a 20 stack of dreadnoughts at some point very, very late in the theatre,
puede tener 20 stacks de dreadnoughts.
Or something you'll see is very commonplace, right? Even a 20 stack of Space Marines in total, right, is actually quite a rare sight.
So I will ask you that question in a second, because someone was asking, will all factions have a deep level of customization? And yes, they will. What was the last thing you said?
Dreadnoughts. 20 stacks of dreadnoughts.
There we go. So I think it was a conversation on Reddit of how are we stopping doom stacking in this? What will stop me from just getting 20 dreadnoughts turn 10?
Yeah, so a lot of it will be just how we regulate the economy, and the dreadnoughts, for example, like to actually get a dreadnought, you have to there's a capacity limit on them, which you have to kind of upgrade over time. And also, like certain units, for example, will primarily only be available via upgrades from other units, right? So you kind of borrowed from the Warriors of Chaos in Warhammer 3. If you want like a Stern Guard veteran or a Terminator squad, right, there might be some very late game options to recruit those directly, but most of the time
eso en verdad no está muy limitado,
make them into a veteran.
A ver, para la IA seguramente sí estaba limitado, pero para el juego no tanto. Está diciendo que va a ser algo parecido mejor, por ejemplo, por los guerreros del caos, que ya sabéis que van por el tema de los Warbands. O sea, al principio lógicamente no va a tener Doomstack, pero después, si sabes jugar bien, a la larga vas a tener Doomstack sí o sí si quieres.
Fantastic. There's questions there about sync kills, if sync kills made a return.
Yeah, I mean they're there in small portions.
I remember we had quite an in-depth discussion on one of our streams about the difficulties of sync kills when it comes to then balancing factions, of like the length of a sync kill and how invulnerable they are during that time. So I think this is about trying to find a balance between the cinematic and having reliable units where if you ask them to pull back, they're not stuck in a 10-second animation.
Yeah, and it's very much about, like, again, for us, sync kills are a way of selling connection.
Yeah.
But use them too much, they become very repetitive, unless you've built, like, a huge pool of sync kills, which is incredibly expensive. So you know, I think we have a lot of faith in like we can sell most of the connection just to doing asynchronous combat really well and ensuring that there's good reactions, there's a feeling of impact, and that's like our main focus.
Sincronizaciones de muerte.
Asynchronous combat plays better for the game.
Creo que lo que te entiendo es eso.
But there is a
Qué
place
pena.
for like, you know, the spectacle of a sync kill.
It's finding that balance, and I think there was a discussion of like, is it ragdolling? I guess when they're killed, of like it's more physics-based responses to things. I mean, we saw it in the Land Raider kind of veering on one side as it was going over an obstacle, right? That wasn't an animation; that was a dynamic response.
So that would be like the physics-based impulses that, for example, vehicles have.
Yeah.
Don't use ragdolling for basically not flying of infantry, for example.
Yep.
That is still kind of more of a game logic-driven, like speed calculation or velocity calculation of like they're going in this direction, they're going to lose this amount of speed due to air resistance.
So a much fancier thing than me just saying ragdolling.
Well, ragdolling is a very specific technological term.
I feel like I've treaded on a landmine. With that word.
If you give an orc and all his bits go flying off in different directions, like, that's not handling. That's kind of all of it, sort of dynamic. And the vehicle tech stuff is really cool. Like if you take a ramp at enough speed with a Land Raider, it'll get up there and stuff. And
Oye, pues la batalla está complicada, narices, ¿eh?
Just like in tabletop.
It kind of rocks back and stuff, and a lot of that is actually physics driven rather than.
That's really cool.
And again, with the destruction of the buildings.
Por lo menos las animaciones de muerte se ven bien. Por ejemplo, la lata de cine esa lo he visto muy guapo como ha caído.
Cool emergent situations. So the orcs have a unit, Storm Boy, which is an orc with a big rocket strapped to his back, and it's not the most reliable unit in the world for obvious reasons. So sometimes when it dies, it will just go flying off in random directions.
Yep.
And it can crash into a building. And that building can then fall over and land on some other Storm Boys who can then explode and then fly into something else. So it really allows these kind of really cool emergent storytelling moments, which is super exciting.
Oh, this is very important for Bedson that this goes off, because he is getting relatively overwhelmed. So this is quite an important strike. Oh, there we go. Has that saved you?
The question is, do you still have reinforcements?
He has a few. And you don't have any. He's got one.
The trump card.
Will the AI be playing differently, I guess, on battle for different factions like Eldari?
El dreno está empujando a un puto topa. La hostia. Y el dreno por cierto no está recibiendo nada de daño del rayo.
They'll use different formations. Obviously, like the units that you have play a big part also in the decision making that you're gonna do. Like the orcs here are generally mostly melee units.
Yeah.
Their army is very melee focused. It makes sense for them to try to come at you. But obviously, like something like an Eldari will take a very different approach to combat.
I think Bedson's trying to offensively use
no tenía
some of his drop pods now, which is a fantastic way to use them.
Yeah, he should.
Oh, he's teleported in.
I mean, that's still a fine move because, you know, those
Terminators
Terminators in that combat
poder del guión, alias petición del emperador, sí, básicamente.
I think I just saw a Storm Boy flying off there.
Rest in peace, Space Bears, someone said. It's alright, the Space Bears were successful. This is back to the not Ultramarines.
Yeah, so long as you kill enough orcs as you die, it's fine. That's your job, live and die for the Emperor.
There is a question of, is it the intent that the custom faction will be represented on the unit cards?
In some way.
What?
Yes.
¿Solo es un nota?
We're still trying to work exactly how we can do that. Yeah. And on the kind of AI point, similarly, we definitely want those personalities to come across from the campaign as well. So if you're fighting against, say, a sort of...
No, yo creo que al final sí la gana, por los pelos, pero la va a ganar.
A Bad Moon-themed...
De esto no me gusta nada, que han reventado el Dreadnought se haya quedado ahí sin hacer apenas nada, ¿no? Para que no haya sido apenas daño.
A Goth-themed melee faction, they'll be using lots of, mega mobs with kill swords and stuff. So you should see very different army
Solo es un nota nada más.
personalities, which again keeps the game varied, keeps it feeling alive and exciting.
Fantastic. I got a bit lost watching it there and forgetting that also I was meant to be grabbing questions for you. Would there be any chance that if you made a custom faction, you would end up facing them in your own campaign as a different faction? I'm really throwing questions at you now that I don't know the answer to, so good luck.
So I'm not sure where it's settled. There is some
ahí.
stuff that we were trying to do with in terms of bringing in your friends' custom factions into your campaigns. I don't quite know where we've settled with that something we do for law. There are definitely lots of really cool opportunities for that kind of stuff that we can kind of bring in. Watch this space. I just love seeing the carnage after this.
I know.
It does look like Benson stabilized it.
It's not in this build, but we've had some tech put in recently where if you drive a tank...
Ah, no, vale, que es la misma unidad de exterminador que sacó antes. Vale.
So,
O sea, que puede
Well done.
transportarlo, por así decirlo, a los exterminadores.
Fantastic. I was going to call out at the start that we all call him different things, James or Bedson.
Un poco raro porque se transporta la nave y otra vez se transporta la batalla.
Because we've known
Pero sí,
for
puede
9 years.
transportarlo de tus días entonces.
Awesome. Then I think that is our last battle. Well done, Bedson, for prevailing. Space Bears prevail, as the chat say. Perfectly planned to look close. Fantastic. Then we've run through everything we have here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed a bit more of an exploration around some of the intent that we have for our campaign, both within and without the build. So talking about some of the stuff that you'll be able to see perhaps in closed beta if you're lucky enough to get in, or beyond that to launch. But we will have news on closed beta soon for those of you who are looking for it, and you can expect Total War Warhammer 40,000 to be coming out in 2027. If you're there at Gamescom, you're probably not watching the stream, but go give it a go and let us know what you think. But if you haven't signed up for the closed beta, absolutely worth doing that as well. But thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to our fabulous guests. May not be the last we see of you guys. It is annoying that we ended up swapping seats. So thank you, Will, and thank you, Oscar, for joining us. We'll let you know when our next Alpha Strike is. I don't think it will be super far off. And that will probably be covering some of the closed beta. But other than that, we will see you next week for, I believe it will be our Glotkin stream. So I'll be starting up the save for that today. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Thank you so much for the questions. And we'll get back to you next week.
Bye. Pues nada, se terminó la stream de esta gente, así que voy a hacer el super resumen.